Narrative, all right? Whenever you're ready.
Hello. Have you ever left your home to go to school at another place? Well, I'm guessing that since you're here at St. Paul, you probably have. Since I've come to St. Paul, St. Paul has changed me a lot. Since I've come to St. Paul, I've had to become more responsible. I've met many new people, some from different cultures, and I've had to adjust to being in a bigger school with harder classes and more activities. Since I've come to St. Paul, I've had more responsibility. I've been responsible to make sure I've gotten enough sleep at night. Like I've had to wake myself up in the morning, which is not always easy, and I've also had to make sure I go to bed at a decent time. I've also had to make sure I eat enough food. So I'd wake up and make it to breakfast in the morning, and also remember to go to supper. If I didn't go to supper, then I'd have to remember to eat somewhere else or make ramen noodles. So also I had to make sure I get my homework done. First quarter of freshman year, I had study hours, and that's when I had to do homework. But then after that, I didn't have study hours and had to make myself set time aside to do homework. I've also had to make sure I wore good clothes to school. I had to make sure I did laundry and my clothes were clean. I had to make sure my clothes I wore to school were appropriate. And on Wednesdays, I had to wear church clothes, which was different. So I had more responsibility since I came to St. Paul, but I also met a lot of new people. There are a lot of new names that I had to learn, 200-something names, plus the teachers. Some of the teachers use different teaching styles, which I'd never seen, and my responsiveness to different teachers' teaching styles was different because I would have to, some teachers would want me to respond and some would just lecture, and Wood talks about this in pages 85 and 97 through 98. I was around my teachers and classmates a lot more than I had before I came to St. Paul. I saw them in the dorm. I shared proxemics with them. Wood 104 through 105 talks about proxemics. I saw my teachers and classmates at meals a lot more. There were regulative rules about how to communicate with classmates and teachers outside of school after school hours. Wood 76 and 87 talks about regulative rules. There are students from many different cultures here at St. Paul. Some of them communicate differently. Wood 60 to 61 talks about how different cultures can communicate differently. Since there are many different cultures here at St. Paul, I stereotype some to act in certain ways. Wood 50 talks about stereotypes. I made judgments on certain people based on their race sometimes. Wood 63 talks about judgment. Verbal communication also differed between cultures. Wood 85, 97, and 98 talked about verbal communication between cultures. Some talked more than others, and some were quieter than others. St. Paul was also much different than the grade school I had attended. It was a lot bigger. Classes were twice as large. There were many more distractions and noise than before. Wood, pages 16, 17, 37, 122 through 127 talked about distractions. Classes were in different rooms. I had to walk and be at classes in time or else I'd get tardy. Some classes were on different sides of campus, which was a lot different. Classes in high school were a lot harder than grade school. St. Paul had a lot more school activities than my grade school did. I played football. I attended a lot more sports games, so a lot of different sports here. And chapel is also held 3 times a week. St. Paul has changed me a lot of ways. Since I've come to St. Paul, I've had to become more responsible. I had a lot of new classmates and teachers, and it's been a lot different than my grade school. St. Paul has affected me in a positive way.
Thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause. Thank you very much. And I've got